A fateful New Year's Day on Mt Rainier. Late in the afternoon of January 1st, 1898, Edward Curtis was looking across Nisqually Glacier, high on Mt Rainier's southwestern slope. As he stood with his view camera waiting for the last light to fall on the rock and ice, bathing the mountain's skyline with rose-tinted warmth, alpenglow, dense clouds suddenly moved in. Rainier is unpredictable and treacherous in any season, but just as visibility was almost obscured, he saw a small party of hikers struggling across the ice field in the whiteout. Curtis had spent many hours as a child and teen in Wisconsin and Minnesota's woods, lakes, and rivers, camping with his itinerant preacher father. Hooked on mountaineering, he had been climbing high peaks in the Cascade Range for several years, exploring, photographing, and rejuvenating his body after being badly hurt 7 years earlier in the logging accident. He loved the woods, Puget Sound's wild beaches and tide pools, and the wilder mountains. Only the year before, he had been an invited member of a large party of the Portland-based Mazamas Club, one of the oldest and most active of the Pacific climbing clubs, when 59 of its members and scientists reached the top of Mt. Rainier, at 14,411 feet, the tallest peak in the lower United States. It was the largest group ever to summit that dangerous mountain. Curtis was along as official photographer for that expedition, but also because he was one of only a handful of Pacific Northwest mountaineers who knew the mountain intimately. As the weather closed in on the struggling hikers that New Year's Day, Curtis scrambled up to them and led them down to Camp Muir, named for John Muir, the preeminent naturalist, geologist, and foremost expert on North American glaciers. Had Curtis not been on that face of Mt. Rainier that afternoon, the hikers may not have survived. Safely at Camp Muir, with a fire going and hot tea and food in the hikers' bellies, Curtis discovered he was sitting with three of the most powerful scientists of the day: George Bird Grinnell, C. Hart Merriam, and Gifford Pinchot. Grinnell, a Yale University professor and scholar of Plains Indian culture, grew up in East Coast high society, a hobnobbing with people like the banker Cornelius Vanderbilt, and was close friends with the young Theodore Roosevelt, with whom he founded the Boone and Crockett Club and was founder of the Audubon Society and editor of Forest and Stream. Merriam, chief of the U.S. Biological Survey, was the most important zoologist and ornithologist of the day, a co-founder of the National Geographic Society, and closely associated with Edward Henry Harriman, the Gilded Age railroad tycoon, owner of the Union Pacific Railroad, and Gifford Pinchot, chief of the U.S. Forestry Department. Remember those names: Grinnell, Merriam, Pinchot, and T.R. Roosevelt, Vanderbilt, Harriman, Muir, as they will all figure hugely in the complex and multifaceted story of Edward Sheriff Curtis and the North American Indian.